Hello and welcome to another Bearded Geek toy review. In today's video, something a little bit different. I want to know where all the Marvel merchandise has gone in Walt Disney World. Where is it? Stay tuned, there is a reason. Welcome back to the channel. Now, if you remember in my last video, I mentioned that in our recent trip to Florida, I didn't buy any Marvel merchandise. And what I wanted to do is do a little bit of a kind of like explanation of why that was. The main reason why, because there was this distinct lack of Marvel merch in Walt Disney World, Orlando. Now, you'd think Disney owns Marvel. They'd have loads of Marvel merchandise in all their theme parks. But it was only really located in one location, and that was in Disney Springs. Now, Disney Springs, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like the shopping restaurant complex of Walt Disney World. It's basically on the outskirts of the property, and it's not a theme park. It's basically there for people to go and shop and go to the bars, go to the restaurants. It has a Cirque du Soleil permanent show building where Cirque du Soleil perform every night. So, it encourages tourists who, might not necessarily go to the actual Disney parks, or Florida residents to go there and basically have a good time. And there's one Marvel shop there which stocks the Marvel merchandise, and that includes Marvel theme park merchandise from Disney's California Adventure and Disneyland Paris and Hong Kong Disney, because those are the three parks in the Disney kind of like resorts that actually have Marvel rides. Now, you're going to ask the question, well, why isn't there any Marvel rides in Walt Disney World Orlando? Well, there's one, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, which opened in 2022 at Epcot, and is based on, obviously, the Guardians of the Galaxy characters from the MCU. It's a great ride, by the way. But there's no other rides there, and the reason that goes way back to 1994, and to Walt Disney World's biggest theme park rival, Universal Studios. So, Universal Studios opened Universal Orlando back in 1990, and that was a success. And then obviously they wanted to expand and open a second theme park. That was Islands of Adventure, which is this place here, celebrating 25 years, opened in 1999. So in 1994, when they were planning Islands of Adventure, they were talking to various companies about IPs and seeing what they could bring to the park. They wanted a superhero island which would have theme parks around superhero characters. Now, the initial discussions were with DC Comics and Warner Brothers, who own DC. They were going to have a Gotham City stroke Metropolis land, which would have obviously a Batman ride and a Superman ride. Those talks broke down and they didn't come to any fruition, mainly because Warner Brothers had already kind of like sold their theme park rights to those characters to Six Flags, which is a big theme park company in the United States. So they went to Marvel. Now, at this time, Marvel was in some real trouble. They were close to bankruptcy, and they had just been bought out by a toy company called Toy Biz, which was run by Avi Arad, who is the famous Marvel producer who produced a lot of the early Marvel films, including the Sony Spider-Man pictures. Now, they were desperate for cash. So obviously, Universal's interest, we'd like to license your characters, and we'd like to put them in a theme park setting, and we'd like to have some rides based on those characters. Absolutely, Marvel said, and the contract was signed. Now, the details of this contract are widely available, and I think you can find it on the internet if you're so minded, or even the basics of the contract. I don't think the full contract is online. But basically, what Marvel did is they sold Universal their rights to the Marvel comic book characters, the Avengers, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Spider-Man, and all the characters associated with those characters to Universal for, I think the initial fee was $1 million, and obviously then they have to pay a yearly fee of $10,000, and obviously keep the theme park attractions going, Marvel Superhero Island open. And if they do that, the contract says they can have the rights to the characters in perpetuity. Now, in non-legal speak, that means that Universal, so long as they pay them $10,000 a year and keep that park up to date and keep it nice and fresh and, clean, and keep those rides operational, means that Universal have the theme park rights to Marvel comic book characters in Orlando, or the contract says south of the Mississippi River, so effectively anything that's below that point in America, forever. Now, obviously in 2009, Disney bought out Marvel Entertainment for a record $4 billion. Now, this included obviously Marvel Comics, Marvel Entertainment, the main branch of the company, and also Marvel Studios, which makes the MCU movies. Now, everybody in the industry fully expected Disney to want their theme park rights to the characters back. And surprisingly, they said to Universal, carry on. And they didn't ask for the rights back. They were quite happy to obviously still make that money from Universal, and obviously Universal sells Marvel merchandise in their theme parks, and that must generate some kind of money for them. But there are obviously a couple of loopholes. Now, obviously, because the Guardians of the Galaxy were very niche characters and they're not really associated with any of the main groups of comic book characters, which I mentioned are included in the contract, it meant that the loophole is that Marvel could use those characters, and obviously Disney used those characters in the Epcot theme park in Walt Disney World Orlando, and have the Guardians of the Galaxy ride. They can't use Spider-Man, they can't use any characters associated with the Avengers or the Fantastic Four or the X-Men, so you're not going to see a Spider-Man ride opening in Disney Hollywood Studios anytime soon. However, they do have a Spider-Man ride up in Disney's California Adventure, which is part of the original Disneyland, and that's called Web Slingers, and that's in part of the Avengers campus, which is kind of like their Marvel land that they've got there. That Marvel land is also at Disneyland Paris, where the same Web Shooters ride is there, and there are plans to do like an Avengers ride as well. And then you've got the Ant-Man and the Wasp ride, which is at Hong Kong Disneyland. So all that means that obviously they make merchandise for those theme park attractions, as well as merchandise in general for the theme parks. Now, when we first went back in 2022, after the whole pandemic incident finally got to go, we saw that the Disney gift shops at the Disney theme parks were full of Marvel merchandise, and again that was the same last year as well. However, when we went this year, we couldn't find any Marvel merchandise. Yeah, there was a few Marvel pins, because Disney have the pin collecting. And there was a couple of Marvel themed Mickey Mouse ears that you can buy, but mainly based on the Disney Plus series Loki and WandaVision. And then there was the odd Captain America and Spider-Man t-shirt here and there, which were of the same design. And besides that, absolutely nothing. Not even in the big World of Disney shop, which is at Disney Springs. However, like I said, they have a Marvel shop on the other side of Disney Springs, which is full of Marvel merchandise. Now, this was quite, obvious, because obviously we've been for the last, 3 years, and it was glaring that, hey, where's all the Marvel merchandise? And we got to talking about it. It was quite, puzzling. What Disney owned Marvel. Why aren't they selling Marvel merchandise in their own theme parks? My partner overheard a cast member who was talking to a trainee, a new member of staff. And the reason why she knew that the person was a trainee, because they had a Disney cast member badge, which says on it earning my ears, which means that they've just joined the company and they're still training. And they were going through various points. You know, it must have been, I don't know, their first day in that particular area or that first day in that shop. And this was in Disney's Hollywood Studios in the Keystone Clovers shop, which had a huge Marvel section when we went last year and in 2022. And the conversation basically went this: if you're asked why there's no Marvel merchandise, just apologise and tell them that we do sell Marvel merchandise, but it is at Disney Springs in the Marvel shop. Okay, right, fair enough. And then she overheard another conversation which said that the reason why there's no Marvel merchandise is due to a mileage clause. Okay, so what does that mean? Now, I've not found any concrete information on the internet, and the internet obviously is open to wide speculation, but I have seen that speculation. And that speculation basically goes like this. Universal, in their pre-existing contract from 1994 with Marvel Entertainment, has a mileage clause in that contract, which basically says that Universal theme parks can only sell Marvel merchandise within a certain mileage radius, and no other company is allowed to sell it within the certain mileage radius of Universal Studios. Now, I don't know the actual logistics of how wide that mileage thing is, but the speculation is the reason why there is a shop on the other side of Disney Springs in the west side area is because that is just out of the mileage radius. So that shop is allowed to stay open. However, all other merchandise fell within this kind of like mileage radius, which meant that all the Marvel merchandise they sold at Magic Kingdom, Epcot, besides Guardians of the Galaxy merchandise, because that's exempt, Disney Hollywood Studios, and the odd bit that they had at Animal Kingdom, was removed because of this mileage clause, and that Universal implemented this mileage clause. I don't know why. Perhaps it was because they were losing out merchandise sales actually in Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios, and they thought, well, hold on, why are Disney selling the Marvel merch? We're losing sales to them, so let's implement the clause. Oh, perhaps, you know, it's a tit for tat thing. Under the terms of the contract, Universal Studios cannot build new rides in Marvel Superhero Island based on the Marvel characters that they have the rights to, unless Marvel agree. Now, obviously, Marvel are owned by Disney now, and Disney probably don't want more Marvel-based rides being added to their major theme park rival, because obviously it's going to draw tourists away from Walt Disney World and into Universal. And as you know, or don't know, Universal are building their third park, Universal's Epic Universe, which is expected to open summer next year. So the greater competition between the two theme park rivals. So that's probably, I don't know if this is true or not, but you can kind of speculate that's probably the reason why there's no Marvel merch, or the Marvel merch has suddenly been withdrawn from Walt Disney World, and it's ended up in a tiny little shop on the other side of Disney Springs, and that's the only place that you can find that kind of stuff. And then obviously the Marvel merchandise that is at Marvel Superhero Island and at Universal Studios is obviously fully stocked. They had loads of stuff. They had Deadpool merchandise, which we saw. You know, they had quite a hefty ton of it, but none of it was the stuff that I was kind of like looking for. I was looking for obviously some Marvel Legends that were going to be sold there. That elusive Deadpool figure, still haven't got it. But yeah, they had a huge ton of t-shirts, statues, action figures, toys, comics, graphic novels, you know, you name it, they got it. They've got a dedicated Spider-Man shop at the end of the Spider-Man ride, and they've got a dedicated comic book shop, which has like loads of graphic novels and comics and statues, which I'll show a bit of footage of at the end of this video. And obviously they've got another kind of like shop across the way. So they got 3 major shops, as well as also various stands and stuff. They got an Incredible Hulk stand near the Incredible Hulk roller coaster. So yeah, there's lots of opportunities for Universal to sell their merchandise. But obviously it's missing from Walt Disney World. So how long that will continue for, I don't know. Perhaps like the lawyers are arguing as we speak. But have you heard anything different? Do you know why there's no Marvel merchandise at Walt Disney World anymore? Why it's been withdrawn and shunted off to Disney Springs in the corner of Walt Disney World? Have you heard anything? Do you know anything more? Am I completely wrong? Who knows? But that's just my speculation. And I just thought it's kind of interesting, given that this channel is all about collectibles and merchandise, that obviously sometimes the contracts and the legalities and the legal things do get in the way of being able to get hold of this stuff. Anyway, that's the video. Hope you liked it. Please leave us a like. Don't forget to share it, and if you've not yet subscribed to the channel. Thank you very much for continued new subscribers and existing subscribers. Your support to the channel is really appreciated. Thank you very much. But we have another couple of videos coming towards the end of this week. I've got a Star Wars Black Series one, and then I've got another video which is kind of like a special video. It's actually got a special guest star. It's got my friend Chris, who's actually reviewed a Batman piece of merchandise. He's actually filmed that because he lives on the other end of the UK. And he sent me the video. I'm going to edit that together, and I'm going to show you this really cool piece of Batman merchandise that he's recently bought. So look for that. But in the meantime, stay safe, take care, and we'll see you very soon on Bearded Geek Toy Reviews. Bye now. Wave. Wave. I'm gonna do Spider-Man.